Greetings YouTube. Today I want to come to you to talk to you a little bit about one of what I believe is the most neglected or underutilized vegetables in modern day gardens. Most people with private gardens do not plant onions for one reason or another, but I think it's one of the most useful, one of the easiest, and just all around one of the most versatile vegetables that you'll find, and also one of the best year-round vegetables that you can use. You can see that here I have some yellow onions. These here I planted in my greenhouse this last year, but you can do it outside. You won't probably have the same results, but at the same time, it's a very easy vegetable. Requires almost no maintenance once they're at maturity, and pretty well you can see they'll push up out of the ground when they're done, and they're pretty much will keep on their own. These here are a yellow onion variety, and ready to slice and eat. About as fresh as you can get right from the garden, and have a various uses. But today I want to talk to you a little bit about propagation, about making your own onion seeds, harvesting your own onion seeds and drying them out properly, and I think by the end of this you'll wonder why you haven't done it in your garden before. Onions are a very space efficient vegetable. I was able to plant in this 3-foot wide row 3 smaller rows, and I staggered the rows just so that it basically made somewhere around 70 or so onions in a 12-foot long space. But I'm very space efficient. I planted these by sets. Could have planted them by seeds, but I wanted them by this summer, and I started them in my greenhouse in the fall, so wouldn't have been to maturity if I would have started them by seed. Another nice thing about our onions is that they're not as needy as things like tomatoes. You see our tomatoes right here next to the onions. Now I'm going to have to come out and pick and preserve all of these sometime within the next 24 to 48 hours, or I'll end up losing a lot of these to rot on the vine. Obviously it's very time dependent, whereas these onions, I'll just pull them when I need them. Another thing I like to use the onions for is cut them into rings, put them in aluminum foil with a little butter on top and some garlic salt, and it really just sautés them, steams them until they're some pieces of it are completely transparent. Great for use on burgers. What about putting it in spaghetti sauce? You can make your own homemade salsa, or what's left of it, or the ever popular onion ring. So, how can I get started producing onions? Well, most people would buy them in what's called onion sets. You're probably very familiar with this. You can buy them from your farmer's co-op. You can get them from some of the mass retailers will offer them. But basically just miniaturized bulbs that you go out and plant. I prefer to plant them in the fall just because by summer you'll have the full-size bulbs that you saw me pick a minute ago. I bought this in a 2-pound sack, which I planted all 3 of those rows that you saw earlier with that 2-pound sack, and still had a lot of these left over. I just try to keep them in a cool, dry place, but you can see that you will lose some of them. They don't store that well. But now, how do you get them back from seed? Well, I will show you that next. Onions produce a seed pod head that will come up out of the top of one of the onions. I don't have them out of every onion. You won't see them out of every onion. But these seed heads will come up. They sort of look like a upside down a spade, like a now if you see the like the playing card, you'll see a spade head on it. It'll be round, pointy at the end of it. Eventually that seed pod will open. You'll want to wait until it opens just so it can be pollinated. After it's been open for a little while, I cut this one off, and then you'll want to let it dry. Here's a little preservation method that I came up with myself. I'm sure there are probably easier ways to do it, and if you know of one, certainly please let me know. I wanted this to dry, but at the same time I didn't want the seed pods to fall out of the head. So I took a plastic bag and stuck a sewing needle through it. I don't know if you can see it on my hand there. You can see it over my thumb. Stuck it through the bag, through the chute, held it up over the bottom of the bag, through the other side, and actually stuck it on a bulletin board with the top open a little bit just to get air down into it. I didn't want the moisture in it for it to rot. But anyway, over time it will dry, and then you can take and remove the seed pods after it's completely dry, but that way you won't lose any of them from just them falling off whenever it becomes fairly brittle. Now, depending on how dry your house is or where you hang these, it may take longer or it may not to dry these out. I had mine hanging for a couple of weeks, so just depending on how dry your house is, it may take longer or less. Now, I take a very casual approach to my onions. They're a very low maintenance vegetable. What I'm doing here now is, this is pretty well completely dried, so I'm just taking and sort of rolling these here between my fingers to release all the onion seeds down into the bag. Just pulling off all the little seed pods here. Now, if you've got an easier way to do it, I would love for you to post video responses to this video and show me. There's a very limited amount of resources in the way of onions on YouTube right now. Alright, well, that's pretty well clean. You can see that there is quite a few little seed pods down in the bottom of my bag now. Now, to plant these, you'll want to start these to basically create your own onion sets. I use, and I'm going to be using here for this, just a plastic bin. You can see, very nondescript, fairly shallow. What I'll do is, on this bin here, is I will take and drill holes all throughout it just to allow the water to drain out of it. Then I'll fill it with dirt. About 2 or 3 inches of dirt will be fine. Then I will take and spread some of my seeds all throughout, and then just cover them with a little bit more dirt. And just leave it outside. It's just that simple. Basically, I'm not trying to grow full-size onions. This bin will be used for approximately a month, 2 months, 3 months, just depending on how long it takes. This will actually be my first attempt at this, but I've seen it done. Guy didn't tell me how long it took for him to develop the onion sets, but I think with the time that I have left in the year, this being around the second week of August, I should be able to have enough of these onion sets for myself by, I'm hoping, November or so. And then I will put them in my greenhouse and start them in the garden ground inside of my greenhouse, so that by next summer I'll hopefully be harvesting full-size onions. These, again, a yellow variety, but I'm sure the other varieties work. For the soil here where I'm at in the southeast, the yellow onions tend to grow very well. Further south of here, you'll see a lot more vidalias and other varieties, but chives also grow fairly well around here. But anyway, that's it. I hope that's encouragement for you enough to go out and start cultivating your own onions. It's a fun vegetable. It's very low maintenance. Works well if you go away for a couple of weeks. You're not worried about it, overripe or anything of that sort. One thing I think I failed to mention whenever I was looking at the ones that are out in the garden earlier is that you probably want to cover, if they push up out of the ground like some of these have, you might want to rake a little bit of dirt over them just to keep them semi-covered. Helps to keep them from drying out like they might if they push up out of the soil like that for a long period of time and you hit a drought spell. Anyway, well, good luck with your onions. Post some video responses if you have some of your results that you'd like to share, and also if you have any suggestions, please feel free to drop me a personal message or comment below. Thanks a lot.